So good morning, everybody. This is Tony from ministrytochildren.com and the Sunday School Store, and I'm here with Bethany Darwin. And today we're going to talk about her new curriculum called Big Bible Words. And I'm going to start off with a screen share and just show you guys an overview of it. Big Bible Words, here we go. So you just go to the Sunday School Store website, and it's on the front page right now because it's one of our new curriculums, and it's already getting a really strong response in terms of downloads. But I wanted to share it today because I think this is just such a great idea, but I'll save my gushing praise for a minute. But Big Bible Words, and what I understand this, and you can clarify in just a minute, but Bethany's taken all the big hard words in the Bible that a lot of people ignore um, about salvation, and she's just breaking these down and teaching kids about election, faith by hearing, regeneration, conversion, justification, adoption, sanctification. These are all those perseverance. Oh my goodness. Um,
There's hard ones there.
so Bethany, why are you teaching the exact thing that everybody wants to avoid when they teach children? Why are you going straight for it?
I've always, even before I had kids, I always said we water things down too much for kids. We don't expect enough. I remember years ago writing an article on ministry to children about using big words. And they even in the secular world now, in parenting circles, there's big talk about using the correct words for things. I'm not going to say which correct words we're talking about there, but kids are learning like sponges all the time. I mean, my son the other day, just without me knowing he knew it, just sang the alphabet song. I mean, they're just picking up everything around them. So why not tell them, hey, here's a big word that you're going to see in the Bible, and this is what it means. Here are some activities to help you learn it. Here's a story where we see it. And don't present it as something scary, but present it as just that's what it is. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says that, God justifies his people. God, makes his people right. Um, and there, I have really simple definitions throughout the curriculum, um, as well as a couple of times, including a really fun song by an Australian children's songwriter called Big Words That End in Shun. So like salvation, adoption, election. So I'm not the only one that's trying to teach kids these big words. So let's just say that there's
Well,
others out there that see the importance, and this is
absolutely.
a fun way to do it. I think it's a fun
It is a
curriculum.
fun way to do it. And kids, kids like learning big words. They like having these long multi syllable words. I remember as a kid, like the crowning achievement was
Fragilistic
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
expialidocious.
That was a great, fun thing to do. And the Bible's full of multi-syllable words that have a lot of meaning packed in, but you can also explain them in very simple ways. And I think when people get into this series, they're going to see that, okay, Bethany's taken something that I was afraid of saying, and she's explained it in a simple way. And you've got all the visuals and activities and Bible stories to make it work. So I'm going to let you screen share in just a minute, but I'm impressed with this. And just off the top, because I know folks always ask, we're aiming for kindergarten through about fifth grade, and depending on the teacher's skill, you can go
It's
up or
even
down.
six, yeah.
Yeah, up definitely you can go up. I think you could go all the way to Bible college and seminary with some of this, and they would benefit. However, preschoolers, you're going to want to shorten it because Bethany's teaching style and her content is always designed for 90 minutes. So if you see 8 weeks of Bethany lessons and you only have a 45-minute Sunday school, go ahead and make it double, right?
Yeah, I'm all
Split it
about
up.
giving people deals, 2-for-1 curriculum deals here.
Absolutely.
All you
Everything she writes is 2 for 1. So, whenever you're ready, Bethany, let's take a look
Okay.
inside this. If you're on Facebook, you guys keep asking questions and I'll sneak over and look at those as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and open up. Here is just the cover page of the curriculum, big Bible words. And my goal with this, even just with the graphics, is that it would just be something that really stands out to the kids. It's like, that old school vintage comic book look is what I was kind of going for with this idea of like, I'm thinking of the old Batman comics where like Batman would punch somebody and then the big like pow, like those were the big words back in our day, Tony. But now we've got these actual Bible big words. So the first one, we go straight into it. I mean, if you're going to start with a big word, start with one of the hardest ones to explain, right? But I mean, even something as difficult to explain as election, it's actually a simple concept, chosen by God.
Absolutely.
It's a simple phrase there. So for each, let's see if I can get the thumbnails back up here so I can show 2 pages here. So yeah, for each lesson, we've got lots of graphics that kind of go through. These are the letters of salvation for one of the first activities. Let me actually open up the lesson page here. So kind of Tony went through this. He showed, the different topics. It's basically walking through the gift of salvation. So there's kind of three big themes that you're going to see through this. You're going to see the big word itself, so election, faith, regeneration. And in each week in the large group time, let me find one of the large groups, there is a suggestion about having some big boxes at the front of the room wrapped like big gifts. The idea being that salvation itself is a gift from God, and every aspect of salvation is a gift from God, that he has called us to be his people, that he gives us the faith to believe. So there's kind of that gift aspect, which makes it just a fun, kid-friendly curriculum as well. And then because, these themes run through the Bible, I also worked in a theme in each small group. The last activity in small group is focusing on the books of the Bible. So that's kind of the third theme, is kind of looking at the Bible itself as being a gift from God, where we can learn these big words. So there's also activities every week to help focus in on that. I've used this curriculum myself in between bigger units. And I've also used it in the summer where I wanted something a little bit like deep, but also kind of fun activities. So that's why there seems to be there are a few more games in this than there often are in my curriculums. And it doesn't build as much week to week. So like if someone's traveling and they miss one of them, it's not going to be that big of a deal, because you can easily like hand out the worksheet from the week before or something like that. But yeah, the format is very similar to what you're used to with my curriculums. There's an opening activity.
Hey, I'm going
There's
to interrupt you there. Hey, I'm going to interrupt you because
yeah,
I think you're still on the teaching materials, and I think you're talking about the lesson materials now.
lesson. Huh? That's weird.
Sorry. Your screen sharing, it's beautiful, but it's been on the same page. So,
Well, that is weird because I am. Let's see what happened here.
and
How
Judy
do
said
I?
hi. Judy is always great to stop in and say hi.
Yeah, and she's not feeling well, so that's pretty impressive. Okay, let me see if I can try screen sharing again. I don't know what happened here.
It's all right.
Desktop. There we go. I don't know why I was doing preview. Okay. I'm not very good with the screen sharing. So yeah, it's the same format that you would see in most of my curriculums, with an introduction activity. What's happening here? I don't know. And then a large group with some worship songs. So this is that song I was saying. We should actually like put a link to this song. It's a great song. It's Colin Buchanan. He's got this great Australian accent, and he's singing about the big words that end in shun. So it's quite entertaining. And then the story that supports that big word. And at the end of the story, you open one of the gifts and see what the word is for the week, and kind of build on that throughout the summer. I'm thinking it's almost summer, so people will do this in the summer.
Yeah.
Throughout the time. And then there's 2 small group sessions, one for 5 to 8 year olds, and then one for like 8 to 11, 8 to 12. All the activities pages that you'd need, teaching materials, all that kind of stuff is there. And yeah, I think it's a similar format, but it's a little bit different than what you've seen before. Everything is very like thematic, with this like gift and the big words kind of just throughout on all the materials.
Yeah, this sounds like, I mean,
There's even like a whole set of Bible book cards you can, laminate and print and laminate, and they're all
That's
ready for you to go for the activities on the Bible, books of the Bible. And another fun thing that I've got in this one is, often I do a like a take home page. Just a minute, bud. But this time, shh, Obadiah, just a minute here. This time, instead of having a take home page, I have these worksheets that can be done either in class or sent home as a take home page. So yeah, there's worksheets that kind of go along with all the lessons you got, that have the definition. So faith, belief, and trust, regeneration, being made new. So we've got the big word broken down to a smaller concept, an activity that can be done to kind of support it, memory verses. So all the same things you're kind of used to seeing in the curriculum that I normally put out as well. But I'm excited to have something new for a change, because I feel like for a long time it's been like full year units, like
yeah,
something
and
over and over. Like, so it's exciting to have something new again. So
and I always say that when we talk about your longer your year long material, I tell
yeah,
people, well, do that, but then keep a soft schedule because on Easter you want to
yeah,
deviate a little bit, and maybe you're in summer you want to deviate a little bit, and so that can be true for you too. In writing curriculum,
in writing curriculum as
you don't have
well.
to
Yeah.
spend.
Yeah, let me go ahead and stop the share here. Unless there's something else you wanted me to show. But yeah, I think it's a similar format, so it should be pretty familiar to anyone that's used our curriculum before. Um, and then, but it is a kind of a fun, different theme, and I'm excited about it. It's always fun when you can teach about salvation for 8 weeks in a row, without it being the cross every week. I think too often we think, well, I can't just teach Jesus died and rose again like every week. How do I do that? But this clearly gets to the gospel very clearly every week, and different aspects of the gospel, but showing it from the Old Testament and from the New Testament, and just kind of showing the overarching story of the Bible. So it's
Yeah,
fun.
and that's what I love about these words. I mean, each of these words are really just a different conceptual framework in the scriptures for approaching, what Jesus has done for us.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's tons of way, adoption and sanctification and justification and all election. Even all these are
yeah,
just different ways that we can understand from our human experience something incomprehensible that God has done, and He takes the whole Bible to explain it. So um,
yeah,
and God uses, I forget the number now of if you just broke down the different words in the Bible, God exhausts a lot of human language to try to help us understand this. So it's absolutely powerful. Speaking of which, let me jump back to the screen share
yeah,
too, because like all of our material, you can definitely download the full version right off, but we always recommend you get the free sample lesson, because for all of our major themes and units, we want you to try the sample lesson first, and we want you to see firsthand how this material is very rich, how it gets kids into the Bible, it keeps their attention, and ultimately connects the children with the gospel. And that's the main point of the Sunday School Store. We want you to be the best teacher you can be, which means engaging the children and connecting them with Christ. And I think this is an excellent example. If you're
yeah,
new to our material at all, definitely download this. And now this is Bethany's teaching style, so it is programmed for a 90-minute class, which may be way more than you have available, but that's great. Download the sample lesson and kind of say, oh, I'll do the large group one week, I'll do the small group and some of the activities the second week. It's really a natural breakdown. And then um, it's really a more than enough. And that's one of the things uh, we have in our official strategy as a curriculum publisher. We always want to give you more than enough. We don't want you to feel like, oh, this is just too thin. We want you to have everything you need to possibly teach.
yeah. Yeah, and I think, like you said, there's always plenty. There's plenty of activities that you can do. There's plenty of teaching materials. There's definitely ways that you can stretch it over 2 weeks. I can see how you could stretch it over if you have a Sunday school and then a children's church format. You could easily make it fit the whole morning. Yeah, there's lots of options there. And even different for different age groups. You can easily, divide it into different age groups. If you have a small class with only one age group, you can use primarily the younger kids material and maybe just pull in a little bit from the older kids material. Um, I can see you doing with just the memory verse posters. You can do, Bible drills for the summer or for the whole unit. There's plenty of things you can do to make it work in your setting without it being like too constricted. And we're not trying to force anyone into a box. Like if you don't normally do large group and small group, you don't have to. You can do it all in a small group or all in a large group or what
Absolutely.
normally works for you.
And so one question we're getting is memory verses. We're in ESV translation still. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So these are in the ESV translation. There's some ways you can change it. I know some of our friends in King James churches wish we had more available. We just don't have the resources to do every translation. So we just kind of stick with what the author is most comfortable with. But there are lots of tools on the internet where you can take a PDF and just edit it.
Yeah.
Just as easy. Just we're all used to editing Microsoft Word, but it's just as easy to edit a PDF. There's tools like Small PDF, which is free, or if you want to pay like $10 a month, you can have Adobe PDF thing,
Yeah.
which is
And I
which
mean,
is what I
these,
use.
especially for the memory verses, these are like just plain red background. So that's
Yeah,
really easy to edit without even, even if you don't know what you're doing, you can just put a box over top of it and
right, right.
put
You
a
can
piece of
make it.
paper over top of it and make a photocopy and no one will ever know.
one of our
Good
um,
old
one of our
school.
one of our readers reached out to me on a previous unit, and I showed them how you can take any of the PDFs and you can drop that into a website like smallpdf.com, and it'll turn it into a graphic. So then you can just drop that graphic into
Yeah.
your PowerPoint slide for people who are doing
Yeah.
PowerPoint slides as well. So that's a really flexible thing to do, and that's why we use
Yeah, in the
PDF.
past, I've thought like, should we, include PowerPoint slides for things? And I'm like, well, we don't know what everybody's format is, and it's just so easy to just do PDF to JPEG and stick it all in, and you've got it. So,
Absolutely. Well, let me stop the
and there is a
share.
there is a bonus lesson in here. I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So we're advertising it as an 8-week series, but it really is a 9-week series. Let me pull up that bonus lesson, and then I can share it once I have it up and ready. So the last lesson, the reason I didn't include it in the count and call it a bonus lesson is it's based on a book. It's not written as a like a standalone lesson. So you would have to buy the book. Let me do the screen share here. Where's screen share? It keeps moving from the top to the bottom and confusing me. Is it sharing now?
We're on.
Yeah, the Princess Poison Cup, the Salvation Review.
No, we're on the preview, the PDF.
Why does it keep doing that? I don't understand. Okay, let's try this again. Desktop. What do you see now?
Salvation
Okay,
Review.
there we go. So, yeah, I don't know. Are you familiar with the R.C. Sproul's children's book?
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
when it came.
so The Princess Poison Cup has been one of my favorites of his series. I mean, I like all of them, but this one's my favorite. Where in the story you have, the prince leaves the castle and he comes to the town and he drinks the water from the poison fountain and he dies and then comes back to life and then the water's clean and everybody can drink it and live. Um, and I love the imagery of salvation in that book. And so basically this lesson is written around you doing your welcome time, your worship, reviewing what you've been doing for the rest of the unit, and then reading the book. That is the large group lesson is just to read that book. And then in small groups, there's review questions. Some of these are questions from the back of the book, and some are some additional questions. And then there's activities to kind of help tie together the rest of the unit. So this is more of a review at the, if you end up with an extra week, or if you wanted to do like a big family event, you could do something like this. I think this would be a fun, like getting parents involved in the reading of the book. So this is just kind of a bonus. That's why I didn't include it as a 9-week and said it's only 8 weeks, but because I didn't really write much. I just kind of encouraged you to use somebody else's materials. But
You know, that's what Bible teaching is really about, right? You're just
exactly,
you're just pointing people to the Bible.
pointing people to the
No,
Bible.
and RC Scroll, if you guys don't know him, he's now deceased, but he was a pastor in a. I think I first heard of him. He was on the radio when I was a teenager, listening to Christian radio, and he was doing this little radio show, and it was all about theology and logic, and I loved it because it gave us some of these big Bible words that I
Yeah,
wasn't getting from my church at the time.
yeah,
Of
and he's
course,
definitely figured out a way to teach big truths to kids. So
yeah,
right up my alley there.
it's a wonderful way to make this to make the concepts of salvation understandable, and that's what I love about your material. It gives you such a strong foundation in what is the gospel. Once you get that, then you can make those jumps to the implications, because
Yeah,
once you have the truth, then you know how it applies. If you
yes,
start with a shaky truth, um, and yes, Jesus wants to be your best friend, but that is not the gospel in and of
yeah,
itself. That's an application of the
yeah,
gospel.
exactly.
He wants to be your friend because God adopted you. So,
Yeah,
when you get the application and the truth confused, anyway,
yeah.
that's why I have theology degrees on the wall and no one listens to me on the school bus. Anyway, Bethany, thanks so much for joining me this morning and talking about this. And we're excited to get this out as to many churches as possible. It's right after Easter, a great time to teach this, but really anytime throughout the year, when you want to have some fun with the big words of the Bible and get kids learning things and get your teachers learning things they
Yeah,
might not know.
yeah, there's definitely some things in here that are going to challenge some teachers. Like how do I teach this if I don't really understand it myself? I mean, I know some of it, some of us, may not have grown up hearing this ourselves, and have just kind of like accepted that it's true, but don't really understand the words and how they fit into scripture. So I can see some teachers being challenged with this, and hopefully it encourages you to use the big words more and more, and just really gets you back into the gospel. Um, One that I didn't include in there, but I always love to tell this story when I think of big words. I did not include propitiation, but
Oh,
years ago, when I had first moved to Dubai, I was teaching a group of kids. It was primarily our staff kids. I can't remember if it maybe even just been a staff event. And our pastor's daughter, who is now a young woman and doing excellent things for Christ on her own right, came up to me and said, "My favorite word is propitiation." And she was probably like, I don't know, 7 at the time.
mhm.
And I remember looking at her and saying, I don't know what that word means. And I mean, I had a seminary degree by this point, but somehow I had missed the word propitiation. And she pulled out her favorite Bible verse, and she shared with me what the Bible said about propitiation. And I remember thinking, okay, if this kid knows this word, I need to know this word, and other kids need to know this word. So there's another big word that ends in shun, that we could also be teaching. Yeah, as I was writing, I was like, ooh, how about incarnation? How about, you know, creation? Like there's so many, and I was like, I gotta stop at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, kid, like you said, like we said in the beginning, and I think it's good to wrap it up this way, is kids enjoy big words, and they're proud when they learn new things. So if we can get them excited about big words of the Bible, big words that help them better understand the gospel, it's just such an excellent foundation that we can build for them.
Absolutely.
Hopefully people will enjoy it.
Absolutely. They will. And if not, it's a money back guarantee. So let us know. We'll make it
There
right.
you go.
Hey, thanks so much for watching, you guys. We appreciate all your support and you have a blessed day.